2, 1, go. Okay, everyone, thanks for tuning in. We've got LoveCD against Dimaga. You can see that LoveCD is going to be the pink Protoss in the bottom right-hand corner of Tal'Darim Altar. On the top left, we do have Dimaga as the red Zerg. Let's take a look and see what version of the map this is. It does look like it is going to be the latter version that has the rocks and the full mineral patches. With all the tournaments that are going on and the players usually picking the map, it's something important you do have to look for, because sometimes players do wind up posting the different versions of this map. This is going to be the version that you guys are used to seeing on the ladder, not necessarily the one on the GSL though. So cross positions on Tal'Darim Altar. This is Gigabyte StarsWar number 6. It's going to be from the round of 8, and winner of this will be advancing to the live finals in Shanghai, China. So this is a very important match for these two players.
Yeah, big thanks to our sponsor Gigabyte for sponsoring this incredible prize pool. It's $8,400, I believe. And the finals, of course, are in Shanghai, China, which is just so exciting. I really wish I was one of the contestants, because Shanghai is my favorite city in the world. Anyway, and Gigabyte is my favorite motherboard company in the world as well. I mean, anyone who's been tuning into this tournament so far knows that I adore Gigabyte. They make some awesome stuff. They're a new G1 Assassin. I just recommended it to Min, the CEO of Razer, actually. It's such a good motherboard, and it's Razer colors.
Oh, really?
But Dimaga, yeah. So I'm actually surprised that Dimaga went gas pool first, because he is in a fantastic position on cross-position Tal'Darim Altar, which basically means that he can macro his heart out with not too much danger from Protoss. Of course, he can proxy pylon and do a warp gate rush, but it's generally not too likely. I see LoveCD has a style to go really standard. He loves to do his 3-gate expansions. He loves to just kind of go into Colossus at a normal standard timing and then eventually High Templar, so really not expecting some craziness from him.
This is something that I've seen July Zerg do at the same time, though. Take a map where, like, the biggest map in the map pool, where you expect him to go hatch first and just macro his heart out, and then he just, like, just because he's aggressive and unexpected, he'll mix it up and actually just, like, go really hardcore, try and break you with some form of all-in on that map, just to make it clear that I'm not going to play predictable here, and you're going to have to scout me really well. And this actually worked out pretty well for July Zerg, doing that kind of style in the past, so I'll be curious to see if Dimaga does something a little bit similar with that early pool, given the fact that this map is so huge. Another consideration is a lot of Protoss players like to open up with the Forge first on Tal'Darim Altar, and then what they'll do is they'll attempt some form of a cannon rush, and then if it doesn't work, then they can just drop a Nexus cannon off, and then they've got a safe expansion. So that might be another reason why he went for the fast spawning pool.
I do like this wall here, actually, but it was, obviously the drone could get right past it. But, I like this wall because, you know, it's temporary. He did see the gas pool first, so in case there was any aggression, he has a stroke at his main. But I think he is going to take his expansion soon, because there's really almost no reason not to, unless Dimaga is doing ridiculously crazy all-in on this map, which is totally unnecessary and terrible.
He's got 10 more Zerglings on the way, and the first 4 were picking away at those destructible rocks, so he might be thinking about just taking a really quick double expansion, getting up to 3 bases really early. On this latter version of the map, you do need those Zerglings in order to do that, so maybe he's just going for the spawning pool first so he can unlock that 3rd base and get that macro advantage. Something a little bit different, but maybe be able to get the 2nd and 3rd base up a little bit faster with those early Zerglings. But now he has backed off and isn't picking away at those rocks anymore, so I am a little bit confused as to what Dimaga's plan is.
I think he might have expected Protoss to go for like a 1-gate expansion, or just a fast expansion in general on this map, but once he saw that he did actually go for standard timing and went for those gates, he probably backed off because he can't actually afford to take a 3rd base early without, you know, making a huge risk.
Yeah, waiting to see how that's going to be going. Actually, LoveCD's now going for the hallucination upgrade, and Dimaga is going for roaches, so he's got his first, you know, expansion up. He hasn't really droned on it at all. He made all those Zerglings, and now he's only just starting to produce drones onto this expansion, so He's actually way behind what you'd normally expect to see a Zerg player at this point. But Dimaga's one of... Oh, there we go! Zergling's running into the natural, getting a pretty nice surround on that Nexus, and trying to do a little bit of damage. You can see he's trying to draw LoveCD out from this wall off, so maybe he can get a run in into the main, applying some pressure here in the early game. Because saying, Dimaga's one of those guys who usually has a plan, so when you see this sort of thing from him, it's usually for some long-term reason. I just haven't figured out what that is yet.
Right, there wasn't any aggression, so there's no reason for him to actually make these Zerglings unless he wanted to specifically do some harass. I do like the hallucination play because this map is enormous and Phoenixes are the fastest way to keep it very well scouted. So that's a very negligible amount of money to get a huge amount of scouting information all game long with these very fast Phoenixes.
Yeah, and as you can see, even with the double damage that hallucinations take, they can just fly directly into both bases, check everything out. You can use those also to make sure that he doesn't have any hidden expansions anywhere on the map, something that you're going to have to be aware of on a huge map like this against a Zerg player. It is relatively easy for them to sneak a drone somewhere and just plant a hatchery somewhere unexpected. So you think they're playing a low economic game and they're really not. So that sort of hallucination play will help him out in that side of the field as well, but Smog is actually moving into double evolution chamber and an infestation pit, so he's going to be cranking out those upgrades, possibly even going for a quick hive. Dimaga is the player that we saw in the last round, actually got a 13-minute Ultralisk Cavern against a Protoss player, so this could be the same sort of build that he did previously, where he just goes for some quick upgrades, uses the early Zergling count with the upgrades to hold off any early pressure, and then goes straight for those Ultralisks. It worked actually pretty well the last time we saw it, but his opponent was rather passive that game, so it'd be interesting to see if LoveCD actually pokes him and tries to attack while he's going for this quick tech, but Dimaga actually starting the energy upgrade on Fester, so it doesn't look like he's going to be doing that exact same build this time.
He could be going for the fairly popularized lately Speedling Ultra Infestor build, actually. I mean, obviously you pump all of your gas into Infestors and Ultras, so there's not room for Banelings and Mutos, but it's actually incredibly effective, especially in combination with Nidus Swarm. This Phoenix is going to come up here and scout everything, though. Yeah,
that's going to be the one issue with this sort of thing, because that kind of a build, you really don't want it to be scouted. Like, if they see the Ultralisk Cavern coming that early, they are going to be able to deal with that threat. You'd be surprised how well charge lots can deal with Ultralisks in small numbers, because it takes so long for the Ultras to kill the Zealots, because the fact that they do reduce damage to non-armored targets, that it really allows the other units, if you have some Immortals and a decent Stalker count, to really take those out. It will be difficult to deal with the huge Zergling count at the same time, though. It's going to be the main issue. So as we look over to LoveCD, he is teching up to Colossus. He's working on his armor upgrades and adding on some more gateways. Both players have their third bases pretty much finished, but Dimaga has a fourth one on the way, and he did just start his hive. So it looks like he might be going for that Ultra build, seeing as we have seen it from him in the past. But just a little bit slower, and this actually looks way safer than the previous incarnation of it that we've seen.
Right, if he's taking a fourth base this early, it's actually presumable that he'll be using it for the gas and going some really heavy tech build, actually. He is taking both gases at his third base now, expecting him to do that immediately once his fourth base nears completion as well. I love his creep spread. It really allows him some nice mobility. If he can creep up the most of the middle area, it would give his Infestor Ultra combo a huge necessary speed boost.
Yeah, one of the major things is, you know, on Tal'Darim, you have to work on that from the very start of the game, because it is just so much bigger. It takes that quite a while to get that creep spread through the center of the map, and he actually needs some... Oh, he's got the Watchtower. I was going to say he needs to bring an Overlord or something, get vision on the high ground, but he can continue to spread that creep. His fourth base just finished. I haven't seen him start anything over here. He does have a couple drones on the way. His hive is just about to finish. There it goes. He's got about 700 saved up, so he is going to immediately go for the adrenal glands, and there goes the Ultralisk Cavern as expected. So Dimaga is going for what you were saying, the Zergling Infestor Ultralisk play, which is a surprisingly potent combination. it is relatively difficult to deal with, and it's important to scout it out. So we'll see if LoveCD actually sends in another hallucinated Phoenix soon, because if he does scout that Ultralisk Cavern while it's building, that will be a huge deal for him.
Right, it's actually a really great build against what LoveCD is doing. He's building very, very standard right now. Lots of gateway units to support Colossus. He just now started his Twilight Council, presumably to get his upgrades, not really to actually focus on, you know, blink or charge. Although I expect him to get charge soon, just because it's so great against just about any matchup.
Yeah, he does have
won't really have it in time to deal with these ultras.
Way, and the Ultralisk Cavern is researching the extra armor. If we check the upgrades, the level 2 melee is about to finish as well. He hasn't started the level 3 armor yet, just because he's using a lot of gas right now, both on upgrades and the first 3 Ultralisks on the way. If we look back to his 4th base, he is now just starting up the gas there. So he is going to be able to get some increased income from there, and really try and get the gas count much higher to support more Ultralisks. And well done there by Dimaga, actually finding that proxy pylon that was on the high ground over his 4th base and forcing LoveCD to cancel it. Good awareness there. He does have this Overlord, so you obviously saw the probe heading over there to start that pylon, and he really doesn't want to give up that base, so that was really well done.
I think I really like this decision. He's making a Roach Warren and a Hydralisk Den right now. He's making like a backup Roach Warren, so that, you know, if the Protoss Death Ball actually does get his tech, he won't be stranded like every other Zerg, you know, who has the money to do this, but doesn't. So I think he's going to be able to pull ahead, way ahead in macro, and max out to 200 before LoveCD can, and then push out.
But look in the center, there's a huge fight going on, with Fungal going on top of those Stalkers, so they cannot blink anywhere. These Ultralisks and the Zerglings doing a ton of damage. That Fungal growth was really important, because LoveCD just wasn't able to use his blink once during that fight.
Well, like, he had Fungal locking up down the left side of the army and had his Lings sent in on the other side of flanks so that anything that wasn't Fungal could not get away regardless. That was incredible positioning on Dimaga's part, actually. I expected him to have more Ultras in this composition, but he's making more now.
Yeah, he actually reinforced with about 80 Zerglings there, remaxing mostly on the Zerglings and just replacing the Ultralisks as they die, attacking into the 3rd base of LoveCD. Infested Terrans going off everywhere, and these Ultras doing quite a bit of damage. Now the reinforcing Zerglings are just starting to flood in, and the moment that LoveCD says that, he just immediately GG's. Because there's absolutely no way he can hold off the second wave of forces from Dimaga. Really well played.
LoveCD both fell behind in macro and had kind of the wrong tech. Like, that was just so well positioned in that fight. Like, there was really no better place to send in his Zerglings. You know, most would just aim with his Zerglings. Dimaga specifically had his Zerglings wrap all the way around to the other side of the army, so that his infestors could get what was near them, and then Zerglings could keep the surround on anything that tried to escape. But LoveCD also fell behind on macro because he did let Dimaga just kind of macro passively, and when you play so passively against a Zerg, players like Dimaga and Ro8 will really punish you and just get way ahead in drones and max out on food way before their opponents can.
Yeah, it was interesting because he went for that like hallucinated opening, and he was using those hallucinated Phoenixes to scout, but he never actually saw the Ultralisk Cavern before the Ultras were out. So I thought he was going to be able to do a decent job of adjusting his unit composition, because I figured he'd scout it, but he never actually saw it.
Yeah, he also got blink before his charge, which was pretty crucial, because I think he may have expected Broodlords from the Hive Tech, but so he went for a very great combo against Broodlords. He was very, very Stalker heavy, but just did not have charge because he didn't actually scout the Ultra Cavern in time. It's funny, he kept his scouting up so well the entire game until it was absolutely crucial.
Yeah, it's just disappointing to see that, because you know, the moment where he really needed to scout, that's when he wasn't doing it. And give us a moment here to get everything loaded up for game number 2. We are going to take a quick commercial break. They'll be right back with Dimaga versus LoveCD, game number 2 here from Gigabyte StarsWar. We'll be right back. They switched positions on the in-game scoreboard, so I had to fix it. They're trolling me, obviously.
So that was actually, I don't know, it seemed like Dimaga crushed him, but that map was also slightly, that was a very favorable map for Zerg.
Yeah. It was an odd opening by Dimaga, but it worked out pretty well for him.
Yeah, I think he actually did plan to take down those rocks early because he expected Protoss to take it to be, you know, macro and slightly more greedy and go for that very, very early expansion. But then again, he actually continued to try and put in Zerglings, make Zerglings to try and pressure, even after he saw it was actually a very safe 3-gate. You know, the safest opening Protoss can do against Zerg.
Yeah, I mean, he did go for the quick 3rd and 4th base, like, once he did see what LoveCD was doing, and it allowed him just to get that extra gas, because he wasn't really strapped too much for minerals. So the build worked out. It was just a little bit unorthodox, I guess. But it's not necessarily a bad thing, because, I don't know, the main thing that I'm worried about with that kind of a build from Dimaga is what happens when a Protoss player really just is aggressive on him in the early game. He's only got those Zerglings for a while. He gets the early Roach Warren, I guess, just in case he has to produce those roaches to not die. So it's clear that he's thought through that build because he had that Roach Warren, and he can make some reactionary roaches to defend himself. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if he does the same thing and LoveCD tries to get aggressive on him.
Well, on Dimaga Caverns, the second map that LoveCD has chosen, it's actually much easier for his death ball composition with Colossus and Sentries to work, because there are a lot better places for force field play. He won't be able to engage in the open like on Toldarim. So he might have a much better chance on this map, and we'll probably see a completely different game, because Toldarim is a very kind of specific map that has certain Zerg strategies that cannot work on places without such big open areas and huge distances.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. We do have Game 2 loaded up here, guys. Thanks for sticking around. Once again, this is Railcoon and Elaine's son. Are you ready to get going for game number 2?